Welcome back to MouthpieceSports.com's Buzz Session here at DePaul University on the beautiful campus in Lincoln Park in Chicago. I'm with the softball coach at St. Ignatius, Liz Radler. I'm also with the assistant volleyball coach at St. Xavier, Ann Eastman Kujella, and the head volleyball coach at the Latin School, Liz Tortorello Nelson. Ladies, again, thank you for joining me. Coach Eastman Kujella, you mentioned something right before we went to break about how difficult it is to be a one-sport athlete these days, or a multi-sport athlete, I should say, and how we're specializing. And it led me into my next question, and that is, I think part of the reason kids are specializing is because there's a great deal of pressure for these young women and young men by their parents to try and be elite. To, of course, the big payoff is a scholarship. And we'll get into the parental thing for a minute there, but are we disillusioned thinking that 10 months of club volleyball, 4 months of high school volleyball, and you're playing at Indiana University?
Well, I think that scholarship athlete is rare. I really do. I think that is something that just because you paid for that club season doesn't mean you're going to get that athlete. It just doesn't. And I feel like parents these days, but I paid for club and I paid this for this and she played all through this, and it just, there's no guarantee. And I think a lot of when it's stemming from the parents and not stemming from the child, that's where the problem lies. Because for me personally, I was the one that was driven to play and to do the extra reps outside. And, you know, when I got cut, my parents were like, oh, well, practice outside some more. You know, I mean, there was no private lesson or anything, there was no quick fix. It was, if you want to play, then you have to go outside and work hard at it, and that's it. And somewhere today we have lost that. We have definitely lost the working hard part of it. It's, I've paid this amount, so I should get this at the end. And it just doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work like that.
Is that part of the reason for the burnout?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I'm laughing because as I'm listening to Ann and you about parental pressure, I'm thinking about my 5-year-old daughter working on her golf swing in the backyard, which is all fun, but I'm not pressuring her to do that. But I'm laughing to myself, thinking about that and how I'm going to be as a parent one day. And I'm very competitive, but I see the value in other things in athletics besides getting a scholarship. And I coached college D1 for a long time, and it was a great experience. And I recruited and I marketed the school and tried to get these kids to come play at the school. But there's so much that you can get out of athletics, boy, girl, self-esteem, everything, confidence, you name it, than just a scholarship for college.
But not every parent has the attitude that you're thankfully taking with your 5-year-old, that swinging a golf club in the backyard is fun. Some expect a great deal more, and I would think are not all that quiet about it when it comes to dealing with their coaches.
Oh, sure, but
Who wants to go first on this one?
I think it comes along with the territory. I think anytime you step in a position of power, you're going to have, people that don't agree with you, and that's just how it is. So as long as you understand that as a coach, and as long as you present yourself in a clear, concise way, I've been fortunate enough that I haven't had parents that have been a problem, an issue for me. But I also feel like, I've presented things in the way that this is my understanding at the beginning of the season, and this is what my expectations are, both from my players and my parents.
Is that how to do it? A preemptive strike, lay out the rules ahead of time?
It definitely helps, because I think there's some parents who really don't know, and it's an innocent thing, and I don't think it's a bad thing by any means, but I think maybe they don't know, maybe they weren't an athlete growing up, so they don't know how it all works. So I think if a coach can communicate beforehand what her expectations are, I definitely think that is a huge advantage for just how the season's going to go, because then those, maybe those 30% of questions that come up in the middle of the season that are causing great stress won't come up, and then the season can be a little bit better. Club season it's long, and I think the parents put a lot of pressure on the coaches to make their child something that I don't know if they're ever going to become that, and that's really hard. I mean, you're talking about somebody who basically is coaching more for the love of the game than the money, because the money really isn't there. So
that's our next segment.
So I think there's just this pressure that, you have to make my child good, and I don't know that that's always going to happen. So I think any type of communication that you can have, open communication, coach to parent and player included, would definitely eliminate some of that stress.
Well, Liz, we've now tackled how to handle the parents. But one thing that I think intrigues me and a lot of our audience would be how the three of you balance coaching teenage girls. I think just about every father in the world is terrified of teenage girls, and mothers and coaches obviously have to deal with that too. It's not a simple task, shall we say?
No, it's not. It's a learning process, that's for sure. And the great thing is that we've all been there. So I think it's I think it's a shame that there aren't more female coaches at every level. Whether the developmental stage, the high school level, the club level, and the collegiate level, and professional. There's not enough women out there coaching girls and women.
I think just to interject, I think one thing that, I don't know if we as women coaches can appreciate this, but there certainly are gender differences, and coaching boys is different than coaching girls.
I think we'd
or
all
women.
accept that, obviously.
And having coached some men, when I was in college, and now having coached girls throughout, it's a very different approach in how you're dealing with women or girls.
Well, tell me exactly, what are we talking? What are the differences?
Emotionally.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
just the way you talk to a girl athlete versus the way you talk to a boy athlete, they take it completely differently. You can say, yeah, you didn't do that very well, sit down for 5 minutes. And whereas I think a guy athlete, I've coached boys high school, okay, coach, whatever. And they go sit down, and it doesn't matter to them.
Yeah.
But the girls dwells on, oh God, she said that, and I don't know if I can get through the rest of practice. And so it's very it's very emotional. It's a big game us women have to figure out. Can't say that we have it
we
yet.
have to give women some credit, though. There are definitely young women out there who can compete and as we say, suck it up and just do her job and get out there. But from the majority of what I see in the high school level, and I'm sure St. Ignatius as well, is that girls at that age, at least the high school level, their friends are super important to them. Super important to them. They would, and I noticed this doing camps for 4th grade to 8th grade, when I ask them to pick a team at the end to scrimmage, 2 captains, I get 2 captains out there. One captain will pick all their friends, and they could be 5 foot nothing. Okay, and in volleyball, that's probably not a good thing. You want some height in there. And the other captain will pick, an older girl will probably pick the tallest girls or the girls who can get their serve over the net. So there is a clear difference here there in women and young women. Maybe not when you get to the college level, but definitely in the high school level. Their friends mean a lot to them.
But I think the reason that why girls or young women tend to emotionalize things is because they actually listen and pay attention. Boys, and I'm not stereotyping.
I'm sorry, you're talking to me?
See, they will. You tell them something. Oh yeah, okay, coach. And 5 minutes later, they're not doing the right. But girls will actually internalize, and they'll try and do, and maybe they're trying to please you or whatever, but they'll try and do what you're coaching them. So, in any race, I would choose to pick women to coach in a heartbeat.
At the risk of offending some of the male coaches in the audience, I think we all understand your point, though. And just from a male perspective, obviously you could relate, I think, in a different way. When these young women get to that age where they know how to compete, I think is what we're getting at, the opportunities for them become endless, and both participating, coaching, and of course maybe even playing overseas, like all of you had the experience doing, at least playing around. We will delve into that, though, in our next segment here on the MouthpieceSports.com Buzz Session.